Hey guys, welcome back. So until now, we have finished adding authentication to our app using Firebase. We have also seen how to add user data to Firebase. So you have covered both the section. So for any micro SaaS, this too is pretty vital. The other step which we really need to solve this entire puzzle is adding payment to our micro SaaS app. Added a separate section or a user guide how to do that in Databutton. So we'll use Stripe for integration of the payment system. So let me give you a quick overview on what are the steps which we will do. So we have finished authentication, storing data in the database, all using Firebase. We already have the videos out there. Next is payment integration. So for payment integration, we will today use Stripe's pricing table or the embeddable pricing table. This is very easy to use. We will see how that can be done. Then we'll embed this particular pricing table within our UI, within our Databutton UI, and be in the home page, as well as it can be in the any components within the home page. So any of the components or the new page which you can create, that particular pricing table can be added. And once this particular UI is added, we need to add a webhook. Whenever a new customer or a payment is added by any customer, that particular webhook triggers or adds the user data. So these things are important, which is all written in this particular docs. We'll just follow these steps. So as I mentioned that we will use Stripe embedding pricing table. This particular pricing table is a no-code solution from Stripe and is specifically designed for the first-time purchases. So I think this is good enough if you already have authentication up. So all you do is have a Stripe account. If you click, you will come to this dashboard Stripe, and all these are done in test mode. If you go to product catalog, you will see something called as pricing table and create a new pricing table. And this would look something like this. I'll just go and say add another product, which will be growth. Add growth as a new product. Okay, so we have 3 product, which is starter, growth, and enterprise. And change the pricing table. You can change the background color. Let's say the background color can be dark gray, and you can have black. Okay, so we have our pricing table ready, and I will just continue this. The finish button, and we have our pricing table ready out here. So we'll copy this code, and now our first step, which was creating this whole pricing table, is done. Now it's implementing to the UI part. So let's go to any Databutton app. It has already been generated. Now the plan is to integrate this particular script in our Databutton app. So can you please integrate this Stripe? Sound good for you? Just go ahead for it. So this is the part where Databutton will implement this within our app. Alternatively, you can just also go back here, copy this code and paste it. That also works pretty well. So Databutton has now added that particular script here. So if I just go back to the code, yes, it has added. There is few issue. Striping pricing tool does not exist. I can just pass this to Databutton and ask if it could fix it or not. Okay, Databutton is trying to fix it. It has updated it, and it looks like I have updated the code to extend the JSX.intrinsic elements interface, which should resolve the TypeScript error. And as you can see, it has done the whole stuff as we needed. And this is exactly the code which we have seen here in the example. One thing which it is not added here, this particular client reference ID. Sure, we can add the client reference attribute to Stripe pricing table element. Here's the plan. And I think this is pretty good. Okay, so Databutton has updated with the client reference ID. And would you like to test it out or make further adjustment? We won't test it now. So this client reference ID helps in a way that if we have our user authentication already in, every user has their own user unique ID. We can always pass this user unique ID out here through this client reference ID, which gets stored while the payment is made. So let's say your user subscribe to the starter pack. When the webhook will be called, Stripe will also return this particular client ID or the unique ID which you can pass, or any string which you can pass actually. So in that way, it helps to map your user's unique ID with the payment. Which user has opted for which pack. So that's one way of referencing. Alternatively, you can just go for the email ID as well. We already have the UI up. The next part is all about handling the webhook. So basically what happens is whenever there is a successful payment, Stripe triggers post request to our particular webhook URL. So basically it sends or dumps a lot of messages back to that particular endpoint or the URL. And from here we'll get a lot of information like when the payment was made or how many quantity of the product was bought or what's the customer's email ID, what's the customer's client reference ID. All this information we get back from this webhook. So this webhook handling is super important whenever we are trying to handle with Stripe. And for doing that in Databutton, it's very easy. There are a few steps which you need to follow. One is we need to install Stripe, which I have already made in this particular app. And also we need to get this Stripe API key and the webhook secret key. These are two secret keys which we need. While doing this, we have this 3 underlying process which we'll follow. So the first thing is we write the code ourselves or we ask Databutton to generate it. So in this case, I think it's better if we just copy and paste this code which we already have in the documentation. So for doing that, all I need to do is go back to the main app, create this particular API in Databutton. It's Stripe webhook. All you need to do is now paste this entire code here. On seeing this code, Databutton already figures out that there is few errors. And I will ask Databutton, it looks like the error is missing secret name, Stripe secret key. We need to add this secret to your app. Would you like me to prompt you to enter the secret value? Yeah, that would be great. So our config section does not have that. So Databutton now is asking me, please enter the value of Stripe secret key. So here comes from where we get the Stripe secret key. So we were in the product catalog. Now we go to developer section. In the developer section, we'll find the API keys. This is the part. And where if we just press this reveal test key, this is the one which we need. We just hit click to copy and we come back to our app here and we paste it. So if you see, Databutton will exactly store this secret key back in the Databutton storage to store another secret key. So we need to store another secret key, as you can see out here, Stripe webhook secret. So we just press this and we ask Databutton to this prompt to store it. Now we need to enter this value of Stripe webhook secret as we mentioned here. Let's do that. So create a new webhook endpoint. We can do that very easily. If you just go to developer section, here we have a webhooks tab. If you go here, we create add an endpoint, and this is the part to add the endpoint URL. Now to do that, we need to make few changes because at this point, we don't have a automation yet in Databutton, but we can do that very easily. So we need the project ID of this particular app. So this is basically from this browser URL. We just copy this and from here, I need the current project's ID. So in Databutton, the project ID or the app ID is nothing but this part of the app. So I'll just copy until this part, and that would be the current project ID. So you see from 7.3 until AEE. And we also need the router name, which is basically this one. This is the router name, webhook. And I just copy this, and that's what we have here. Now we need the endpoint URL format. Documentation, I have already added it here. This is the format of it. So I just go back to my notepad and I just paste it here. And then I replace this part, the project ID, with this. And the router name with webhook. And now we have our endpoint URL. That's it. This will be automated in future, but for time being, I think this is very easy to set up. And now we go back here and we save it. You can add a description, but it's not necessary. The other thing which we need out here is the events which you want to listen to. That itself says that for tracking subscription, we need this checkout.session.complete. That's one of the things which we need for whenever a payment is made. So what I would do is I will select event and I will just look for checkout.session.completed and I add that event. You can add other events as well, but for time being, this is good enough. and I create add endpoint. The next part is what we were looking for out here was the Webhook secret key. This we get here, reveal, and this is the secret key which we need. So I'll just copy this. And now I go back to Databutton, and Databutton has already asked me before to give the Stripe Webhook secret key, and I paste it here and I send it here. So once I give it, the Stripe Webhook secret key has been successfully stored. If you need any further assistance, feel free to let me know. I think the agent reads the latest code from our API, and it seems like it's working. Everything is fine. So the next part would be to test this API in real action. So we just need to deploy this. So we're just deploying this app now, and then we will trigger the Stripe payment. Okay, so the app is deployed now. It's time to test it, and let's see if this works or not. I open the app here, and I will go for the subscription of the growth plan, and I'll just click this button. It will take me to this entire payment information portal. So I'll just enter some dummy email. By the way, let me show you quickly. In the dashboard, I don't have any customers. Let's hope that this would work and we'll get some customers here. So it takes me to this portal section. I just add some email. So it's test one, and then I hit the subscribe button. So you have to observe a couple of things. One of them is there will be a new customer. Other part is the webhook will be successful or not. And the next part is in the storage, we will have new events, which you already have now. Let's quickly check this part. So if I just now refresh this part, let's see. We have a new customer, test1@gmail.com. In the developer section, it should have a webhook now. Let's just go back here. Let's go here now. And I just refresh this part. Yes, we have checkout session that completed successful, which just happened now. And now in Databutton, we have the entire details of our customer with the product details as well, if I'm not wrong. So I bought this 19 euros one with the product QM ending with FMN. So you can also check that as well. So if I just go to product catalog, if I go here and if I just go to the 19, the growth plan, it has FMN, that's the product ID. So we get the product ID as well. And another thing is the client reference ID. If I just go back now to the code, I'll show you why this comes as client reference ID, because we literally hard coded that part as client reference ID. So the next time you can change this with the user's unique ID, like whoever logs in, and we automatically transfer that particular unique ID here. It will be saved with the user's unique ID. That's another thing why we get in the saved one, we get this unique ID, which is more like this. And we also get the customer email out here, test1@gmail. So we have all the information. This webhook captures all the information sent back to this endpoint, which we just built out here. That's the endpoint which we have here. And the other thing which will be worth to notice is the webhook API. Here we have used Databutton's. Here we have used Databutton storage. This can also be your Firebase storage, where you can just dump all of them, map them, which user has paid which particular package, and we can also make sure to update that. And all of this can be connected together. Let's say now I try with this enterprise package. I just add like test2 I just hit the subscribe button now. You will see back again in the out here, we'll see this checkout session, which will be just now once this is completed here. Let's wait for it. It's finished here. And now if I go back here and just click this refresh button, let's see. Yes, we have another checkout session completed. And I'm hoping that if I go back here now and I just go to customers, there will be new customer here added, test2. And also if I now go back to Databutton's storage, because everything gets stored there, we just now have another one, which is a test2 with the same old client reference ID, but it has a new product details, which would be the largest package, which is the 99 euros. So everything from the code to how to proceed is added here. If you think you need more details about it, if you need this kind of stuff, just write to us over Discord. I am happy to provide this, also add it over the documentation. But the process are very simple. First, we create a catalog or a pricing table, and then use that code which we get from Stripe. We embed that code in our Databutton's UI. Once we have that, we make sure that we generate a successful webhook endpoint for which we need to install the Stripe package. We need to get this, the code, which we can get from this documentation. Alternatively, we can just ask Databutton to generate one. We create this new webhook endpoint where we need to do a bit of customization at this moment because Databutton does not yet support that automation. But for doing that, all you need is the Databutton's URL, and then from there get the project ID, router name. If you're just copying the same code, the router name will be same, just the project ID will change. And then we need to have this particular few lines where we need to fill up with the project ID and the URL and the router's name. And this is the one which is basically the endpoint URL which we create for the webhook. And in the webhook, from there we get the webhook secret key. So we store each of them. We ask Databutton to store them here. Databutton to store this for us back in the config section out here, or we can manually do that as well. If we just go back here, we just add the Stripe secret key. This needs to be same as in the code because they use this get function to get this particular name of it. We add the value here. Once we do this part, everything from there is very simple. Then we just deploy and we test the app. And for testing, every time we need to look onto this particular webhooks, how successful it is or not. And we just see our customers getting added. That's it. And if everything goes well, the last part which we must do or be great to do is make sure that we automate this authentication with our payment and connect all our users with the payment and the Firebase authentication together. So make sure to follow these docs and let us know if something is missing. Write to us over Discord. Happy to answer. Cheers.